we're now at the height of the female protagonist trend on the Famicom. You're right that we haven't seen a lot of them, but this is still the peak of it. Protagonists in Famicom games is very much a boys' club. And for some reason, most of the games that have women as protagonists are clustered in the second half of '86 and the first half of 1987. Our heroine in this game is Lucia, a warrior who was sent out with a troop to recapture the wings of a statue called Madoola. The statue had magical powers, and the person who stole it and the person who stole the wing hid it in his demon castle and is sending out monsters to conquer the world. All of Lucia's friends were killed in battle, so she's the only one left who can stop them. To get the wing back, she has to find her way through 16 maze-like stages, searching for power-ups on the way. The first two power-ups that you'll collect are boots and a sword. There are 3 tiers to every power-up. Every time you get a new pair of boots, you can jump a little bit higher. Similarly, every sword makes you a little bit stronger. Don't even bother attacking enemies until you find the first sword. It takes too many hits to defeat them, and you really don't get anything from it. All power-ups are held in these little side rooms that you have to locate doors for. So what you'll be doing is exploring, looking for these entrances. Also, these doors with arches take you to a different point in the stage. When you defeat a boss, you'll get one of these crystals that increases your maximum health a little bit, and that crystal also lets you go through the stage's exit door. The number at the top of the screen is your health, and the number at the bottom of the screen is your magic. Health can be recovered by finding a potion that enemies very rarely drop, finding this apple inside one of the doors, collecting the boss crystal, or standing underneath one of these fountains. Magic is recovered by collecting potions, these scrolls, or by completing a stage. One weird thing about the magic, you won't find any until the 4th stage. You'll find magic power-ups, your maximum magic will keep growing, but you can't use it until you find a magic item. Once you've done that, you can hit start, and then select rotates through what your action button does. A jumps, and B fires off whatever attack you've selected. There's 6 magic spells that you can use, though by stage 10 I had only collected 5 of them. The flame sword works like your regular sword, only it shoots a burst of flame out the tip. It's very cheap to use. The magic bomb was my go-to for dealing with more annoying enemies. It shoots out a certain distance, and then explodes up and down. Good for nailing vertical guys. The bound ball is supposed to bounce around, but I can't really tell from it. It can be pretty high damage though. The shield ball surrounds you with a swirl of those balls. It's pretty expensive to use, so I wound up only breaking it out in bosses where I felt they were vulnerable to it. Flash destroys all enemies on the screen. It's also very expensive. The stages start out pretty simple and linear, but it doesn't take too long before they become sprawling platforming mazes. There's a lot going on in them, and it's entirely possible that you will miss a permanent power-up. There's a solution to that though, and that's the continue code. When you game over, you have to hold down select and then press start to continue. But instead of just continuing where you left off, it gives you a stage select. So you can choose to go back a few stages and collect the items that you missed. You won't have to refight the boss, and you can't recollect anything that you've already picked up. It just means that you're never permanently locked out of anything. Well, unless you go into this little cubby hole without destroying the boss on the stage first. I have 2 major complaints about Wing of Madoola. The first is that the visual design is pretty bad. Not for looking at, it's a pretty game for 1986 Famicom. The thing is, you can't easily tell where you can walk and what you can stand on. With these bridges, you have to look at where the ropes are rather than where the bridge is. And the caves and the outdoor levels blend in with the background. You can jump on these pillars, but not these. And you can walk through some blocks when you're lower than their level, but not others. The visual design makes the gameplay confusing. The other major complaint is how enemies constantly spawn. It's not that big of a deal in many places, but there are some spots like these bridges where the constant flow of enemies prevents you from being able to jump. For some reason, the sword only hits one enemy at a time, so if two are coming right on top of each other, you only hit one of them. And you stun lock whatever enemy you hit with the sword, so you can sit there swinging constantly until they fall over, or until another enemy runs you down. My other complaints about Wing of Madoola basically come down to it not being as good as it could have been. The combat doesn't feel quite smooth enough, the platforming doesn't feel quite right. One positive thing about Wing of Madoola is it's a sign of how quickly things are changing on the Famicom. 8 months ago, Sunsoft released another action-adventure platformer with sprawling levels, in Atlantis no Nazo. Wing of Madoola is a more fully realized game than that. You can feel all the improvements Sunsoft has made on the concept. I guess my final judgment once more comes down to, would I play Wing of Madoola again? If you asked me yesterday, I would have said no. But after really engaging with it this time, yeah, I would play Wing of Madoola again. In fact, if I didn't have to edit this video and move on to the next game, I'd go back and try to finish it right now. I don't think I'd play it again after I finished it, but I want to finish it.